Welcome to Fiona's Food for Life YouTube channel, Cook, Eat, Nourish. We've got another interview lined up for you today. Make sure you listen to the end so you get their 3 tips to how you can cook today to become healthier. Please like and comment below and don't forget to subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Good morning, Lisa. Thanks a million for coming over.
Hi Fiona, how are you?
Great. Would you mind introducing yourself to my audience?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Lisa Halpenny. I'm one of the owners of Kidscook, a children's cookery school based in Clonee in Meath. I run it with my business partner Anne-Marie Maxwell, and my sister Kerry was part of opening it too.
Fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit about your career to date before Kidscook?
Yeah, sure. I have a career dating back 15 years working in social care with children at risk for the HSE in different areas. I did that up until I had my own children, and then went part-time for a little while, maybe 2 years, when Anne-Marie had the idea of opening the cookery school, and I left my job to do Kidscook full-time.
Great. And so why did you set it up? Really?
I suppose Anne-Marie was just watching TV with her daughter one day, who was Nigella Lawson, I think, who said, "Mom, I'd love to do cookery lessons," and from looking around there wasn't a lot of anything available at the time, so she literally sent me a message and said, "Do you want to open a cookery school?" And that's where it started. So kind of from that idea to me taking her seriously and going, okay, let's have a look at this. We also asked my older sister, because she had a career in marketing, so she had like invaluable information starting off. It was about 2 years from the start of us deciding to go for it and then actually opening our doors.
Wow, okay. And what is the message or the ethos of Kidscook?
The ethos is really, I suppose, you can do it. Like, take the fear out of food and being in the kitchen, and just know that it's basic, simple skills, but they really stand to you for life, as part of just even providing for yourself through college, when you possibly marry, have a family, or cooking for your family, and it's a far healthier way to live if you have basic cooking skills.
Fantastic. Okay, and what offerings do you have at Kidscook? What different programs do you do?
We do cooking clubs, so we have 3 cooking clubs, 2 midweek afternoon after school and 1 on Sunday morning, so they're broken into different age groups.
And that's the one that we're recording here today that we can see some
Yes,
kids.
yeah,
Okay.
so that's our older children, that's from kind of 10 to 14 years old, yeah. So with them, it would be a little bit more hands-on than with the youngers, and we bring out hobs. We have plug-in hobs, so we can decide if we're going to take them out or not, obviously depending on the skill and the age of the group. So that's what we have today. Yeah.
Okay. So we have the club one. Sorry, I interrupted you there.
Oh, no, you're okay. We do adult and child classes, which are very popular. They usually run every 2 weeks, unless there's a special occasion and we might put on something extra. So for that, as an adult, you can bring a child, whether it's your own child or a niece or a godchild, for a treat, and you get your own set of ingredients on the table. You make whatever it is and you bring that away with you. So while you're cooking as part of a group, you're doing an individual lovely activity with your child.
Okay.
We do birthday parties all weekend. Most of our weekends are booked out with birthday parties. They've been our bread and butter. We wouldn't survive, I suppose, if we hadn't had such a fantastic response to our birthday parties. And also during every school holiday we do camps. And again, they're broken up into 2 different age groups. All information about that is on our website. It's a lot of detail.
And do you do any school tours or anything like that?
We do. Usually May and June we would get a significant amount of school tours. Obviously we'd love to build on that. Getting the word out to teachers would be great. You know, if you're looking for something alternative, educational, fun, not weather dependent, quite important. Yeah, we do school tours. We also cater to private groups of all different varieties. Like over the summer we had a group of French students who were, as part of their Irish tour, came to us to learn about Irish cooking. We do scout groups, autism units from school, rainbow groups from schools, any kind of a youth club, Froga might come to us for their Christmas event or just something to do on their night out. We get lots of groups of children with special needs. If it works for them, which it usually does, it's another great activity because some other things might not be available to them.
Okay.
So lots of different things.
Great. And what's your maximum numbers then? Because I suppose that might be one thing if you had a class of 30 doing a school tour.
Yeah, and exactly. We'll take up to 30 children for a school tour. We can manage that. For a birthday party, we usually cut it off at around 20 so that the party's not crazy. There's a different atmosphere at a party than a school tour. And then for classes, 20 is usually around where we...
Yeah. And can you talk me through maybe some of the specific setup that we can see today with all of the kids that you have done, or what unique skills you've needed to set up Kids Cook?
Yeah, sure. So from the beginning, I suppose, even down to the decor, we did a lot of research. We wanted a nice, calm environment. We also have custom-made workbenches, so they're slightly lower than your standard countertop. And we also have steps. So even though the benches are slightly lower, we do cater for kids from 2, 3, 4, 5 years old. So we have steps for them to be able to reach the countertop. Like I mentioned earlier, we have plug-in hobs, so we can take them away. If it's young children, put them out for the older children or with the adults. We also have, I think one of our best finds before we even opened was our kiddie cutters, and they're a safety knife, which are brilliant. They, as they say, cut food, not fingers, and we use them for all types of food prep with all ages. And I suppose it's a great peace of mind that we know there's going to be no injuries, even if, you know, as they say to the older children, if you're 13, 14, you may be allowed to use a sharp knife at home, but in Kids Cook, it's a little bit social as well. So maybe you're chatting or someone might hit your arm, and you know, we don't have to worry about any cuts, so they can prep all their food with the kiddie cutters. And it's a lovely place to be, I have to say, and just the children coming in, it is really calm. We chat about their day while we're cooking. You show them the social side of cooking, and they meet new people with, I suppose, like-minded interests. You know, we'd often get children who maybe aren't particularly interested in sports or you know, the kind of mainstream activities that are offered after school, so this is their thing, and for them to be able to come to us is great.
Great, yeah, and it's a lovely atmosphere here today. Now it's great. Did you get any support? So you said it took you 2 years to set up. Did you get any support in setting up the business?
We did look into working with our local partnership for us. That was quite a challenge at the start. They were very encouraging and very supportive because we were kind of in a unique, you know, something different, and they thought that we would definitely be in the running for funding. Unfortunately, they ended up not being so helpful. It kind of made our process very drawn out, and we got refused the funding in the end. So it was a bit of a kick in the teeth. But we just reorganized, and we spent a lot of time looking for the right location. Obviously rent is a huge, you know, cost, so we're very happy where we are. Easy parking, easy access to the M50, all of that. We really think we found a great place, so that helped from the start. And then luckily Amory's husband's a carpenter, so he built Kids Cook. Yeah. And we just kept our setup costs as low as we could, to be honest. We had a bank loan and we put in some personal money, and we set up without any help. I suppose because of that experience, haven't looked really for it anymore, but I think we're going to now. I've been in touch with enterprise bodies, so hopefully going forward we'll get some support.
Great. And remind me, how long have you been in business at this stage?
It'll be 6 years this
so
February coming.
Now. Okay,
yeah.
Great. Fantastic, brilliant.
Yeah, I can't believe it's that long.
And can you tell me, education-wise, what can the kids expect to learn from their time at Kids Cook?
Yeah. So with the younger children, it's usually 5 to 9 year olds broken into that cooking club. They will learn how to help to read a recipe, how to see do you have the right ingredients. We'll usually have their ingredients ready for them, because maybe using the weighing scales is going to take up too much time. You don't want to make it too much hard work, so it's mostly ready for them. But we might teach them how to use the weighing scales, and maybe just they weigh, you know, oats or seeds, or get to know, because obviously it depends on whether they know their numbers. So the methods of cooking, you'd explain everything as you're doing it. Everyone gets to take turns. There is a lot of social interaction. They work in a group, so that's all very important. We kind of feed them little bits of information about food so that they don't feel like they're in school and learning something.
Yeah.
But if you have, I suppose I find, if you have general conversations about what are you allowed in your lunchbox and why are you not allowed that, and what's, you know, if those kind of conversations, and they'll learn a bit more just about food, what's good for you. You know, it's done in very simple language for that age group. For the older kids, we will usually write the recipe on a blackboard, have everything out on my table, and they will prepare everything from start to finish as much as possible. We will usually put something in the oven, but if it's on a hob, they'll do it themselves. So that could be weighing the ingredients, prepping the ingredients, checking the recipe, and just, I suppose, even to know what goes into something. Like a very simple thing we do a lot is how to make a curry paste from scratch.
Okay.
So just even, you have a tray of ingredients that go into it, and then you have your curry paste. So for them to be able to see what's in it can sometimes be great fun.
Okay, super. And can you give me examples where some of your clients have come to the classes and what they've gained from it that maybe you didn't even think they were going to get from it?
Yeah, sure. I suppose a lot of our children will go on and, you know, make a full family dinner for their dinner, and I suppose that's what you want. You want it recreated at home. That we tailor our recipes just to make sure that there's maybe no reason why they can't do them at home. We're not using specialised ingredients or equipment most of the time, unless it's maybe for fun. But I know we do get a lot of children with special needs. So often it might be that they will try foods they've never had before. I know one girl came to us in the start when we first opened. She came to us for about 2 years every week to our cooking club because her mum said it's the only place she eats anything. So, and she was going through a phase of loving baking, and that lasted for a couple of years. You know, she moved on, but we still keep in touch. We would sometimes maybe get children who find it hard to take part in a group activity. Maybe they're a little bit shy, have a little bit of anxiety, and there is something in Kidscook that works for them. So they might be able to commit to a cooking club term or 2 days of camp, and that would be a massive thing for them. So like I think that's just amazing to be able to offer that to somebody. I know we had a client ask for lessons because she was entering the British Junior Bake Off.
Oh, great.
So we did a little bit of work with her. Lots of things. RTE came and filmed in Kidscook a few years ago as part of their RTE Junior series and asked if I had any children in mind that would, you know, so it was great. I brought in some of the girls from the cooking club and they took part in the RTE programme, so that was all very exciting. So I suppose you just never know, and for the children, like, we'd sometimes get a photograph emailed in and it would be from a parent saying can't get enough of the broccoli soup, and it would be a picture of the child holding the broccoli soup that they've made. So I mean, that's just like that to me, that's just what we're there for. It's like, that's just brilliant when you see that they're doing it at home, or, you know, baking for their granny. There's a little bit of a skip of generation. Often they'll come in and say, oh, I bake all the time with my granny, or my granny makes apple tarts or bread, or, you know, so that's lovely.
Great. And do you have any favourite memory of Kidscook?
Like so many, I probably couldn't even pick one. I suppose I never get tired of seeing the faces of the children when they have made something. And say in a camp, you know, if we prepare their lunch and they prepare it as well. So that's where most of the emphasis is on. If they bake something, it's to bring home.
Okay.
So a lot of people think we just do baking or just do cupcakes. We don't at all, but it is obviously a little bit a part of it. It's getting your hands dirty in the kitchen. And when something comes out of the oven and you bring them back to the kitchen and say, right, your bread is on the table ready for you to bring home, and they come out and they're like, oh my God. And there's a little loaf of brown bread or some cookies, and they're so excited to show whoever collects them what they've made. I never get tired of that. I suppose that's an ongoing joy.
Great.
And that's the first thing I think of when you ask what's my memory of Kidscook. You know, there's loads of little individual things, but it is basically about knowing that you've given that feeling to the child, that they're like empowered, they've done it themselves.
And it's great. It's almost like an instant reward for you as well.
Oh, it is. Yeah, all the time. Even birthday parties, like we have families who come back year after year and have the same child has their birthday party and they send us photos of the different ages, and you know, they might do a different theme. We have a few different themes, but just that they want to come back is just amazing, you know.
Okay. And what are the recipes? What are the favourite or the more popular recipes at Kids Cook?
We do a poll most of the time in camp, and what usually wins is pizza and cupcakes. But maybe with the older children who like a bit more of a challenge, they will say maybe it's making bread. You know, if we've done a lot of kneading, learning about yeast. Curry is a really popular one, the Indian curry of any type.
So today we're doing the curry and flatbreads, isn't that right?
Yeah, that's it. So even the flatbreads is just such a quick, you know, easy bread to make, and it's not always a big process, but you know, you show them two different things. Our barbecue chicken is hugely popular. We've never changed that recipe, and we bring it back. We try and vary, obviously, from camp to camp or cooking club, and keep it as different as possible, but we will repeat our favourites, because I think at this point it's nearly expected. And our barbecue chicken marinade is great fun to make because you get a basket of ingredients. You have to figure out how much of what goes into the bag, put in your chicken or your vegetables, and it's very popular. They'll all try it if they feel like they don't like the smell of something, or they've never tasted soy sauce on its own, but in a marinade they'll give it a go.
Okay, cool. And so I always ask my guests for 3 tips to say help improve the health of the nation. So I'm going to ask you from a, you know, cooking with kids perspective. Could you give us your 3 top tips?
Yeah, so a lot of people who come into us, a lot of parents say they don't have time to cook, which I totally understand. I don't have time to cook all the time either. I know if I bump into people in the supermarket, they're apologising for and I'm saying, well, look in my trolley, it's probably not much different to yours. But to just maybe try and cook a little bit more from scratch, and that might be, like, I think a good example is something like a bolognese, where, you know, you might aim for, you're getting your onion, garlic, celery and carrot in it, and maybe just passata and not a jar of dolmio, okay? If you can't get all that done, or you don't have a food processor or a good grater, even just grate in a carrot, just start somewhere, just add something to it that's going to make it a little bit more natural, that it's not just a jar of processed sauce. So little things, if you change a little thing in a lot of what you do, that'll make a big difference. I would say another tip would be take the fear out of the kitchen and the fear out of food. You know, if you're not great at cooking, that doesn't mean your children won't have an interest or want to do it. I see it as, I'm not a very arty, creative person. So if I'm going to do arts and crafts with my child, I know I'm going to be taking out the paints, taking out the protective cover from my table, and just going, right, for half an hour, this is what you're doing. So maybe look at it the same way, that it's an activity that you maybe need to get ready for until you are used to it. And maybe if it's with younger children, have your ingredients ready. Like, don't take on the whole thing all at once. Find a really simple recipe, have your ingredients ready, roll up your sleeves, let your kids get their hands dirty. If they make a mess, it's not a big deal. Tell them it's okay. A lot of the fun is getting your hands messy. Like, some of the children with us, as soon as they might get a little bit of butter or something on their hands, they immediately want to wash their hands. I'm like, no, wait till you're finished. They're going to keep getting messy. You know, like I know we've sometimes have fun, sometimes an activity that we just make something that's messy just to feel it. Or another one we do is take out fruit and veg for them to chop with the kitty cutter, and I tell them they're chopping it for my rabbit at home. So they think it's going somewhere. So if I tell them the rabbit wants it really small, they're chopping away. Let them crack an egg. I do remember, this was a really funny memory, one child was never allowed crack an egg at home in case she made a mess. So she was terrified. It was her turn on the group and she had to crack an egg, and she was like, will you help me? So I just said, you know what, just smash it down, just get rid of the fear, just smash it. And we all thought this was hilarious. And she did, and she smashed it on the table, and we cleaned it up, and I said, there you go, now here's another one for your recipe. You know, so that's all lovely. So yes, except there will be a little bit of a mess, but enjoy it. Maybe just enjoy the task. And the third thing is maybe try and lead by example. I know I'm constantly thinking about that at home, in what your eating habits are. if they're not healthy, as in every aspect of life, we're told children do what they see and not what we say, not what they hear. So I'm always conscious to be drinking water, making sure my choices are healthy, and if not, showing what alternatives would be, healthy snacking. I mean, it's a constant battle maybe in some houses, but I suppose it is very important. If the children see you trying, and sometimes you fail, that's fine, that's all learning.
Yeah. So. Okay, so we've got kind of cook from scratch by making small little changes.
Yeah.
We have the just be prepared for the mess and get in there and let them do even just small bits of it.
Yeah.
And then the third one, remind me again what we had for the third one.
Lead by example.
Lead by example. Thank you. Okay, fantastic. Now, what's next for Kids Cook? What do you have planned?
I suppose we're always just looking for more business, but in what ways? Our birthday parties do brilliant. We don't need to spend much time marketing those. I'd love to get in more private groups because that's really enjoyable. We would often get scout groups, youth groups, Faroga, autism units who come to us, and it's an outside activity, extracurricular. Like some might book a 4-week course. Some would come for a one-off. A lot of the scout groups this year used it as their Christmas event. So as it's quite tricky to find the people in charge of those groups because a lot of it's voluntary, I'd love to get more of those in. I just think that they're a fantastic thing to do for groups. People are always looking for activities, and I just want them to know, here's one you can do. And
while the address is Clonee, it's really just off the M50, beside Blanchardstown shopping
I really
centre.
love, if we could say Dublin, but we're officially Meath. People often arrive half an hour early because they think we're down in the depths of Meath, but we obviously we try and promote all the time. We are 5 minutes from Blanchardstown. We're just off the M50, so it's very accessible. From we do get from down the likes of Cavan, Navan, Kells would come up, and then South Dublin's really not that far. Malahide, and then kind of the likes of Naas, somewhere in Kildare. They're all really, really close to us, and not a lot of distance.
Okay. And so, Lisa, what would you choose as your last meal?
We do this a lot in camp. I ask for the favourite dinners, and they're not allowed to say McDonald's. So my answer is always Thai food. I absolutely love the flavour of Thai food. And prawns. So anything, a Thai prawn curry, a soup, something like that would be my favourite last meal, my death row meal.
Okay. And would you have anything to drink with that?
I'd probably have a glass of wine, probably white if I was drinking, with prawn curry. And I'm not a massive dessert fan, but I suppose my favourite dessert would be maybe a sticky toffee pudding.
Okay, great.
And a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you mind telling my audience how they can get in touch with you if they'd like to know more about Kids Cook?
Yeah, sure. So our website is www.kidscook.ie, and all details of what we offer are there, our parties, our camps, our courses. If you have a specific inquiry, you would email info@kidscook.ie, and we hopefully will tailor a package to your need. We're also on Facebook, Kids Cook Ireland, and Instagram is Kids Cook School.
Fantastic, and I'll put all the links below in the description here.
Brilliant, thank you, Fiona.
Great, thanks Lisa.
Thoroughly enjoyed that. Thanks for interviewing me.
No problem, you're welcome. Thanks for watching today's video with Lisa from Kids Cook. Don't forget they've got an online store where you can buy the kiddie cutter if you like. Please like and leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe. And why not check out some of my other videos, like the recipe for making shortbread, it's great to make with the kids. Or some of the videos I have about seasonal cooking that I have on my website. Thanks a million, see you soon.